Walkabouter's Guide to Australia, or whatever we end up calling this thing.
Sinagua farmers began building this 5-storey 20-room dwelling early in the 12th century. It stands in a cliff recess 100 feet above the valley. Early settlers marvelled at the structure and thought mistakenly that it was Aztec in origin. A short distance west is Castle A, once an imposing 6-storey apartment with about 45 rooms, now a badly deteriorated ruin. This dwelling was built against the base of the cliff.
We're going to give you a half hour here, 30 minutes.
These parks preserve remnants of 2 distinct cultures that once flourished in the Verde Valley. The first permanent settlers here were the Hohokam. They were skillful farming people and moved into the valley shortly after AD 600. They grew crops of corn, beans, squash and cotton and watered them by irrigation. They lived in one-room houses made of poles, sticks and mud, which they built on terraces overlooking the fields in the bottom. Other people who also lived in the general area, they were the Sinagua, Spanish for without water, who inhabited the nearby foothills and the plateau beyond the valley. The Sinagua were pit-house dwellers and dry farmers, dependent on rain for their crops. They moved down into the valley about 1125, occupying land vacated by some of the Hohokam, who migrated to the northlands made fertile by the ashfall from the eruptions of Sunset Crater in the mid-1060s. The move altered Sinagua culture in 2 important ways. They adopted the irrigation system of the Hohokam. They began to build above-ground masonry dwellings, an idea they may have borrowed from the Anasazi to the north. About 1150, the Sinagua began building their large pueblos, often on hilltops or in the cliffs. This was the time of concentration in the valley centre, probably in response to drought and ensuing strife. The villages reached their present size in the 1300s and were occupied for another century. In the early 1400s, the Sinagua abandoned the entire valley. No one knows why.
You will also meet women busily preparing food, getting supplies from storerooms, making pottery and grinding corn.
Lived, and when they would die, their skeletons would drop to the floor of this because the mountains blocked the way. And that's how we got our deserts. On this, sheep are herding animals, but they will actually drown themselves to death in a rain. That's why if you ever see a turkey farm, they'll always have sheds. You know, they can get out under. It's not just for sun, it's to get them underneath the sheds when it rains.
That's information center.
The federal government says that's one of an Eastern time. So we have 4 time zones, which makes 3 hours.
Walkabouter's Guide to Australia, or whatever we end up calling this thing.